I, 32F, got pregnant by my friend, 35M, now BF, and he wants me to move to his country to raise the baby together. First, some background to help make the situation make sense. I met Eric, 35M, in the summer of 2018, when I moved to California in a split-second decision after my divorce. My relationship with my ex was a dumpster fire, but we mainly split because I was infertile and his mother was a meddling racist b.tch. I don't harbor any hard feelings against him, but I was seriously hurt by him and took years to heal. I had an instant connection with Eric because he is Italian and I grew up in Europe, and my grandmother is Italian, so I spoke the language a little. It also turned out we had a mutual friend through my third cousin, met him on Ancestry.lm.o, who lived in Italy about 30 minutes from where Eric grew up. Eric runs his family business, so I wouldn't see him for months at a time because California wasn't his home and he would only be there on business, but it was lovely whenever we got the chance to see each other. We spent a lot of the COVID lockdowns video calling because he chose to remain in Italy with his parents. I think that I bothered him a lot then because the situation in Italy was quite bad, and I was constantly calling him because I was so worried about him, but that's when our friendship went from just having the same friends to us becoming very close. Our friendship really developed in the last few months I stayed in California before returning home to New England in 2021. He came to visit the week before I left and helped me get the last of my belongings sent off to my new apartment. Since then, he's visited me in New England 3 times, and on his last visit 5 months ago, we slept together. That was the first time I had done anything with anyone since my ex-husband. Not to get TMI, but my reproductive system is a serious mess from scarring from miscarriages and endometriosis. I barely get periods and I have serious hormonal issues, so I'm on BC to help combat that. I was on track to getting some surgery sorted by the summer for it. I had, and still have weirdly enough, no symptoms and found out I was pregnant during an ER visit around Christmas, got Dr.K and fell down the stairs and hit my head LM.O, and it was a serious shock to my system. Thankfully, the baby is fine and everything looks good so far, but I'm probably going to have a C-section. I told him, and he flew over to spend 2 weeks with me while I was getting my appointments lined up and informing my workplace, etc. Now, on to the issue at hand. Our relationship got a little flirty around the I moved back home and he began visiting me. He would call me things like sweetheart and love, and we did sleep together the last time he visited, but we've never talked about it. All he said was that he wanted to talk about our relationship when he next visited. When he did come in January, we agreed to finally start dating. In total, I've probably only seen him in real life about 30 times due to lockdown and the nature of his work. This is also my second relationship ever since my first was my ex-husband, and I stayed off men for a while after him. I am due in early June, and he has said that he wants me to move to Italy with him so we can raise the baby together. He spends most of his time there, so it would make sense. I would miss my friends and the family I still have if I left, but I've wanted to raise my own family for as long as I can remember, and I thought I would never be able to. I can speak Italian relatively fine and could up the rest easily, but I am still pretty nervous. I need to make my mind up about this pretty soon because I would need to renew my German passport, that I haven't touched since I was 15, so it'll probably be a long process, to make moving to Italy easier. The move would mean becoming a stay-at-home mother/girlfriend in a foreign country. It seems like the right thing to do because I spent my teens in the US while my father remained in Germany, and it was not a fun way to be raised. He can't move to the US because of his work and he cares for his elderly parents. I have no reason really to be apprehensive about how he would treat me because he's been nothing but kind since I've met him, and especially now he is an absolute star. My friends think I should do it, but I'd like some more advice. What do you guys think I should be considering in this situation? Update for Ada for stealing back a baby shower gift. A number of people wanted an update on my situation and I can't get back to that many individually. I contacted 2 of the mutual friends who were invited and had a long talk with them, as they left voice and chat messages from me wanting to talk. I got good advice from Redditors, and it seems some of you caught something I was being naive to. I was being used. These 2 mutual friends confirmed as much. The reason the mutual friends had contacted me wondering about my plans was for me to catch on that something was happening without directly telling me, because then they would have to break their word to her. They admitted it was a childish way to go about it instead of talking to me directly. Her new group of friends held it against me that she had cancelled plans to go out with them at the last minute to hang out with me when their friendship was new. After the first few times she always chose them over me as they have more in common. They also seem to be rather immature according to our mutual friends, but they hang out with them as they are okay to be around if you want to have a good time. She is more of a party girl than me, and our mutual friend said she wanted me to stick around so she could call in favors. She had confessed as much to them, calling me the reliable homely aunt for her soon-to-be-born baby. She even said that once the baby was older she could leave this or other babies with me while she would have more time to travel, have her time, and enjoy date nights. Not wanting to believe them blindly, I did phone her to apologize, but she was more concerned about the crib and other gifts than wanting to mutually apologize for her behavior. She said she was hurt and would only forgive me if I agreed to babysit for her once she was able to have fun. I asked her why she wouldn't rely on her new group for that since she clearly preferred them. She said silly they are not the reliable motherly types. She told me if I didn't agree then she would be very cross with me. That ticked me off as it felt like she was scolding me like a child. I hung up. I did ask her about her mother in the beginning of the conversation, wondering why I was being treated that way when I helped her during her husband's, my friend's funeral. She said that her mother was hurt by my rejection of her brother and she agreed that I could do no better than her brother. She said she was hurt that I didn't want to be her friend-in-law. She was hoping that I would be closer to her family if I married into her family, but instead I had turned him down, and he still held a flame for me. She said we are both outdoor types, so she felt insulted that I'd turned him down, because that meant I thought he was you. She has since left me a few messages wondering when I will come back with the crib, but I blocked her last night. I guess that is it. I have booked an appointment with a therapist to figure out who I am, as after some self-reflection I seem to get drawn to people who abuse my kindness and I take it on the chin. I have also cut off contact with other mutual friends that did attend and never contacted me. The two that did I might cut off too, but I have to think it through to see if it would be beneficial for me long term. I need to start thinking of myself and my future. To think I dumped a decent guy a few years back because she put ideas about him in my head, and was very needy during that time, so I had very little time for developing my own relationships. My mother apologized and she says that despite feeling bad about what people might say, she understood it hurt me to not be supported by her. My older brother says not to be too road and her due to our culture, but to not let others walk all over me, as he says I have people-pleasing tendencies. He said I should have put my foot down with my friend years ago and that he tried to hint as much, but I was not ready to hear it. Crib and some clothes has already been given away, although I still have some of the newborn stuff. One of our mutual friends that did go to the party suggested I donate it to the hospital, as there are probably new mothers who would appreciate the help. For all of you who kept having a go at me for my words, I didn't actually want her baby dead. It came out all wrong due to my emotional state. Maybe you do have the moral high ground and always watch what you say, but I doubt it. Take care all. 8th, for taking control of my BF finances after him being irresponsible. To put you in context, I have 44, mother of 3 and BF 49, have been together 10 years and have a child together, thus I have 4 kids. We live separately but we see each other almost every day and he is total oxe to his son. To be honest, I have been queen of my domain for 5 years, being sole provider for my first 3 children before meeting him, and him living and helping his elderly parents was what was for the best. We had a son together, child number 4, while he was still living with his parents, and again I took my responsibilities. He is a very active parent with his child and has become a very good stepfather to my 3 other kids. It took him some time to warm up and accept my 2 eldest, who are slightly disabled. For the first 6 years of our relationship I have often had to help out to make sure that he and his parents have enough to eat and survive, but that was okay with me because I was raised it's what we do for family. 4 years ago he lost both his parents in less than a year and that was very hard for him. I helped him out as much as he needed, sometimes even going without something I wanted cause he needed something. 2 years ago the house he was renting got sold. He had more than enough warning to try and find somewhere else to live, but he decided to put his head in the sand and did nothing. Again I found him and my eldest son to live in through town where my son works. The only thing I have asked of him is to pay the rent, $700, the insurance of the car. I make payments on the car but can't drive cause of major anxiety, pay for the first tank of gas of the month, he is disabled and is on welfare, buy his non-essentials and feed my son. I pay for the food, cell phones and internet, TV service for both of them since I made the arrangements for both of them. I know I'm making him look like a mooch, but he is usually really reasonable and doesn't ask for the impossible. Sorry for the long context, but it was necessary for what is to come. A few months ago stuff started going badly for us. He started saying SD.P.D, CR.P to his friends and coming over less and wasting his money on SD.P.D, SH.D, forgetting to fill up the car, etc. Making it so I have to help him out earlier in the month than I have had to in the past. Just before Christmas the car broke and I had to float a few of my bills to pay for the car and make sure my kids had a decent Christmas. January comes along and same SH.D happens and he skips the insurance payment on the car and not only pay the bank fees for the skipped payments but everything else. Middle of January he breaks the car's key fob again. I go into fix it mode and find a locksmith to make us a new fob, send him the money for the locksmith. But due to unforeseen weather locksmith cancels but gives us a new appointment for 2 days after. I'm like okay, no problem, 3 days no car, no big deal. And here where everything goes to H.LL. One of my BF friends, call him Joe, convinces him to give him that he can fix the car for cheaper and instead of talking to me about it gives him the money, calls the locksmith to cancel him, and long story short still no making love car. For the next 2 weeks BF is always gone with Joe to try to either find someone to make a key fob or find another car. During that 2 weeks barely any contact and what he tells me sounds like total BS. I have to find and pay someone to take my other son to work and one of his friends is feed the son living with BF. I get pie, Ed. I know all we need is a real locksmith, so I find another guy to go and fix my car. New locksmith is busy and tells me he'll be there on Monday. Before I say yes, I try and contact BF to let him know what was going on. He doesn't answer my calls or texts, so I say making love IT and book the guy. Well, Joe decides to send my car to a garage the day before the locksmith was going to come fix the car. Again cancels the locksmith without telling me. Thank God I didn't give him the money beforehand, then ghosts me for the next 3 days. February comes along. I get a call from his landlord saying he hasn't paid the rent and doesn't have the money for it. Now I am livid. I talk to landlord, tell him I will make sure he get his rent and that the situation will never happen again. I call BF and chew his out and tell him to tell Joe to tell him where my car is and that I would take complete control of his finances since he can't even take care of the little things I ask him to take care of. Now mid-February, still no car or idea where car is. Getting threats from Joe and a lot of BS from him. I am just done with my disappeared car. Find another car which I will still be paying for, and BF is really sorry and feeling guilty for being immature and SD.P.D. for trusting Joe. Before calling BF an idiot, I already done that and he will be paying for betraying my trust. BF is not a bad guy, too trusting and immature maybe, but he has come a long way in the 10 years I have known him. He a good father and stepfather my kids. One of his only redeeming qualities. We haven't been able to talk stuff out cause I haven't seen him in a few weeks and some things can't be say over the phone. I'm sorry for the long post, just had a lot to get off my chest it seems. So Ida for taking total control of his finances? Ada for cutting off the friendship with my childhood best friend? Advice needed. We've been friends for 18 years, and I thought we were best friends. We used to see each other almost every day, being neighbors and with our parents being close friends. As the years went by, our friendship grew a lot, but when she got in high school and I was still in elementary, things changed. She always made new friends at her school and treated me like I had to do everything to please them, which made me feel inferior. I found out she was chatting with her friends and they were making fun of me for how I was and how I dressed. Although her parents had more money than mine, it never bothered me until she started to change her attitude because of that. Besides, her brother bullied me because of my economic situation and because I didn't speak English at the time. I'm from Latin America / now I'm C2. Despite the ups and downs in our friendship, I always forgave her and we would be back together. My parents also liked her a lot and often gave her gifts, simple gifts that she often didn't appreciate. Over the years, I noticed her attitude changing depending on her friends, but as a matter of fact, none of those friends lasted in her life, except me. I have always been her only close friend, and I have always overlooked her mistakes. When we moved out of town for college, I couldn't afford an apartment, so her parents offered me to live with her and her brother in an apartment their father paid for. However, while living with them, they often reminded me that I was there because their parents were paying for it, which made me feel uncomfortable and like if I was the maid, even though I always tried to see the bright side. After we moved out of there, we each went our separate ways and drifted apart for a few years, although we still kept in touch. Over time, we reunited, and became close friends again, but unfortunately, the same patterns repeated. I invited her to my uni graduation, but she preferred to party with a friend instead of being there in that special moment with me, even though she initially said she would come. This decision turned out to be a loss of money for me, as the tickets were paid for by me and limited. However, despite the disappointments and sadness I have experienced, I have always been there for her, even to this day. I have considered stop talking to her because, in a recent situation, while visiting my boyfriend who lives in Switzerland, and me in Latin America, my friend expressed a big interest in visiting me. She had just recently immigrated to Spain, but claimed not to have the money to do so. We were only 3 hours away by plane. I was happy that my childhood friend was near me, and when talking to my boyfriend about it, he kindly offered to pay for her ticket with the condition that she would pay him back later. Although she initially accepted, in the end, she expressed financial difficulties, and my partner decided to leave at that. She stayed with us for a week and didn't pay a single euro. We went on trips to other cities, and she didn't contribute any money either. One day, we took the wrong bus that cost 3 euros per person and only accepted cash. I asked her if she had money to pay for it. It was 6 euros, and she said yes, but she was short on money. I told her to give it to me, and I would give it back to her at home, and she agreed, but then she wanted back 10 euros, not 6 euros. I felt confused and decided to ignore her. Before leaving, she reminded me that I owed her the money, which annoyed me a lot, but I chose to ignore her and didn't give her anything. During her stay with us, I estimate we spent around 1,000 euros just on her, in addition to the gifts I gave her, and it was always because she was important to me and didn't mind until she threw it in my face, demanding that I pay her the 10 euros, and I feel like I've reached my limit and can't continue like this. She used to talk to me every day until she got a boyfriend, after which she only contacts me when she needs something, and I'm tired of this situation. What should I do? Is it okay to feel this way?